I just got back from sailing. It was blowing 12 to 14, and we're doing 11 and 12, by the way.
Awesome.
Wow.
Do you know the designer of this boat?
Nah, they're all anonymous.
Hello, Cyrille.
Good morning or good evening.
Cyrille, did you just wake up?
Yeah, and I'm gonna back, and I wake up again in 4 hours because I have to drive. So I'm here. What time is it for you? 7?
7 for me. I just got back from sailing. That's why I'm all look like a sailor guy.
Okay.
What was the winds again, Chris, and the speed you're doing?
We had the big reacher up, and it was blowing 12 to 14, and we were doing 11 with about 90 apparent.
Wow,
It was very good.
that's good.
Yeah, the boat just accelerated. I mean, the boat's really good.
How many people did you have on board?
112.
You're towing a dinghy?
No, we had like 7.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight. Plus all this, they moved, Harry's moved the board, right?
Yeah, all his stuff. But I mean, when you still look at the when the boat's sitting in the water, the bows, probably the first 12 inches of the bow are still out of the water, and the whole transom's out of the water.
Full.
We hear you.
We can see you and hear you, Jade.
Chris, what other sail combinations did you try today?
Today we started with the Solent. Solent was blowing about 10 knots, and we were doing about 8 to 9. Just depends on, obviously, on the apparent. But I mean, the boat was good with the Solent up until about 40 degrees, and was moving quite nicely.
So you were comfortable with 40 with the Solent?
Yep, absolutely.
So the boat you're on is going to be doing some real serious sailing. They're actually going to do their first real week-long trip starting up soon.
Yep, they're going to leave on Monday. They're going to go from here to Brooklyn to, they're going to make a little pit stop at Doyle Sails to get the sail cover on at City Island, and then they're going to continue on up to Newport.
So for the first time, Tribute and Off Piste, Harry's boat will be next to each other at some point since the factory.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, actually. It's freaking awesome.
That's great. Well, I see Paul and Jade now. Hi, guys.
Okay, you can see us.
We can, yes.
Can you see
welcome.
us, Lauren?
Yes, I can. I think everyone can, and we can hear you now.
Quit messing around, Paul.
So we can go ahead and get started. I think everyone's here. It looks like we have just a couple of guests, so we can go through some quick introductions. We have Paul Hakes and his assistant, Jade, in Xiamen. We have Chris Doscher on board HH50 03 in Annapolis.
Hello, everyone.
We have Scott Rocknak. Looks like he's sailing Tribute there. And we have Gino Morrelli, of course, from his home office in Newport Beach, California. And there he is.
Hey, Gino.
Hey, Paul.
Rogan Van Gruisen and Lisa are joining us from Newport. They're currently working on Tribute, taking care of a few warranty items. And Erich Baier, the owner of Seabbatical, has been kind enough to join us late at night. Welcome, Erich. Thank you for being here. It looks like you're on board.
Now
There we go. Yes, we hear you now.
Okay. Yes, sorry. Greetings from my night watch here at 1 a.m. From Badalona, Barcelona here.
So the first topic up for discussion is the performance of the two boats, the OC50 versus the HH50. Chris was just talking a little bit about the sailing that they had today in Annapolis. And I know Erich and Cyrille, you can speak to the OC50 so far. I know it's kind of been limited conditions, but also I figured we'd have Gino chime in on this question as far as expectations go. But I guess Cyrille and Erich, do you guys want to tell us a little bit about your experience so far on the OC50?
Yeah, we had so far 2 days, 3 days, and with journalist, film crew. And up front, I would like to say that everybody that stepped aboard was impressed, not only sort of by the layout, by the design, by the attention of detail, but also by the just the craftsmanship that you see through the boat throughout. Absolutely stunning. People were very, very impressed, I must say. Then, yeah, I let Cyrille talk to the performance. We tried a couple of things. Winds were a bit limited, but we saw a tremendous performance, actually, even with a big, big rip in tow. We reached over 80% of wind speed. If we had disconnected that rip, we would have gotten darn close to wind speed. So,
Yeah,
Cyrille,
yes, in fact,
Yeah.
what happened
Okay.
is, as Erich said, everybody was really, really surprised, and it was a good surprise with the quality of the boat, you know, in all aspects, in every detail. And even myself, having been on a few cats already, I think I can find really where the boat is good. And we just found it. While sailing, it's been a bit difficult between storms and no wind and rain, but we had a few hours sailing 2 days ago. It was really nice, and as Erich said, we were towing a big rib because we were doing the shooting. So, and even though we were sailing like something like 7, 8 knots, with 14 knots of wind, we had the Gennaker on. If we call it Gennaker, but you call it Richer, I guess. It's the same, the big sail up there. And yeah. We were like 60 degrees of the wind, which was pretty good actually, because without this big reed, we would have reached 10 knots easily, which I think for a cruising boat, it's really good. And that's what we like with this boat. It's a good performance cruising boat. And she points well. The winglets do the job.
Good.
That's what we can say so far. Erich, you agree?
Yeah, we haven't sort of tried or pushed the limits, but on day 1 already, so if I saw us sailing at 38 degrees apparent, and that the boat didn't slow down. So we'll definitely go a little closer and try that. But I'm impressed, I must say, absolutely impressed.
Yeah, that's awesome. The similar situation here on the HH50 in Annapolis. Today we did a lot of reaching around, but we used the big reacher, and even with the big reacher, we were still able to get the 40 apparent, and we're doing 90, almost 85 to 90% of wind speed, and we've got full fuel, full water, and Harry and Tiffany have like moved completely on, so we've got all their gear, etc. And the boat performs, just really, really, really well. One of the things we noticed, I don't know if you have noticed it, Erich, as well, is the boat just seems to, you'll see a puff coming, it'll come down, and the boat will load up for a second, and then it just releases, and all of a sudden it just goes like boom. So we'll go, the other day, we've had the boat up to 15 knots. So we'd be at 11 or 12, we get a puff to 18, and the boat would load up for a second, and they just launched to like 15 knots, no problem. It's just really nice.
Yeah, we had actually one botched tack, and as soon as we are just past the point, you felt that immediate push, and we picked up and went back to where we were before right away. Really, really impressive. Yeah.
It's kind of funny how you like feel it, it's going well, and then it just like, I don't know, releases, or, it just accelerates, and it just, the boat just comes alive. It's awesome.
Cyrille, Erich, did you get a chance to tack it in really low speeds, like two knots boat speed, 3 knots boat speed? Does it
Well,
come through?
actually, Cyrille is my witness. We tacked, and as I said, we botched it completely, and we had it at 0 for a while, and then as soon as we felt the wind sort of got beyond sort of the 20-degree point, then it picked up and we really sort of accelerated impressively fast. On any other boat, you would have started the engines to get out of the situation.
Does it seem to have much weather helm or neutral helm going upwind and
Not at all.
10 knots wind? Pretty balanced?
Not at all. I did not feel that. The feeling actually, my big thanks to Paul when he said, well, we will definitely have to go to direct versus the hydraulic. I'm so happy that we made this decision.
Yeah, the Jaffa steering is awesome. I've noticed the same thing. I mean, it's so light in the feel. On the HH50, for the most part, anything north of 10 knots of breeze, you have just a very slight weather helm. And then, as the breeze picks up, it increases obviously a little bit, but the steering system is excellent.
Good to hear. And with the big reachers up, does it go leeward helm or is it still fairly balanced?
It's super balanced. So I had the big reacher up today, Gino, and it was blowing 11, 12, 13, and I had, we came all the way up to 40 degrees apparent, and it just felt like it was just in the groove from, super wide all the way up, all the way into, 40 degrees. And I couldn't believe that we could go 40 degrees with that big reacher up there, but it did a good job. It was really nice.
40 apparent.
40 apparent, yeah.
Yeah. How much true wind speed?
About 14 was the big, probably the buffs.
Surprising.
You're flying a cableless reacher today, is that right?
Yes. I had we used the Solent for a while, and we were getting a little bored going around 11. And so we put the big Wamper up, we put the big reacher up, and we screamed all the way down the bay, down to the lighthouse, the ever popular lighthouse in Annapolis. And we're going through people, big 55 Beneteaus and some other boats. We're going through them to leeward, and people were like, holy shit, who are those guys?
They both got load cells, right?
Yeah. It does. And I honestly wasn't looking at the numbers on the load cells because we had a bunch of people on the boat, clients, etc. And we had some people that weren't exactly sailors. So I was having to do a few more things than I normally would.
Yeah, just curious to how close you came to full riding moment.
Gino.
I honestly didn't look.
Hey, Rogan.
Hey, so speaking of the load cell stuff, we were sailing, obviously not today, I wasn't with those guys, but previously when the boat started to really feel like twicked up or it started to feel exciting, we were really only pushing about 5.5 tons on the load cell. And that was sort of trucking uphill, doing 8 knots to weather or something like that.
Yeah.
We were seeing just over 5, 5.25, something like that. And
that's
when it started to feel
50% riding moment.
Yeah. And that was when it sort of, those were in the puffs that it twicked up to 5. And then, down when it was blowing 8, it was 3, 3.25. And it, it spiked pretty quick in the puffs. It went up to 5, 5.25 when it blew maybe like a 15 knot puff going uphill. Yeah. And it certainly felt exciting at half riding moment.
And the rig still looked pretty good.
Real good. I was pretty amazed by how much everything stretches in too, because when we did our dock tune numbers, we came up with about 3 tons of static load cell dock tune number.
Right.
And after just 3 or 4 days of sailing and letting everything stress in, we were sitting at 1.95 before the retune.
Does that boat have loops on the lower inch yet, or are they still lashings?
Still lashings, but I think the conversation is moving towards getting some shims and getting fixed loops.
Yeah, that will help stabilize everything over long term, because once you get that break-in period, it will pretty much not move for months.
Yeah, the life of it, pretty much. Yeah.
Hey, hello everyone. We've had technical problems here in China. I don't know if you can hear me now. Good to see everyone. Gino, we were talking about how wonderful the performance of these boats is. What does that mean for our cruiser who's ocean, passage making across the oceans? What sort of, daily mileage can we expect out of these boats?
Well, the real reality is the extra speed is kind of a lot of escape clause. If the wind's great and the sea state's great, you can kind of let the things run and go fast, and the extra speed gives you a lot of extra range at times with the same wind. Instead of sailing at 8, you can be sailing at 10, which over 24 hours can make a big difference between hitting a harbor during daylight and having to sit offshore at night. So we always think speed's an advantage, and the ability to lift your foot off the throttle to be comfortable is a great option. If your boat's always slow, you never get a choice. You're always going slow. But if you got a relatively fast boat, you can always lift your foot off the throttle and make it comfortable and hit your port of entry, or whatever your goal is, to be safe and to either beat weather or make it to a port on time. It's a safety thing in a lot of ways. It just gives you more options to get out of the way of weather, or to get into port sooner, or to give you options to leave later. There's all kinds of good reasons to have an extra 2 or 3 knots of boat speed for the same amount of wind speed.
How do you think the payload of these boats, Gino? I mean, these boats can take, near on a 3-ton payload, and still the transoms are out of the water, which we've kind of defined as a real-life global cruising payload. Right. How does that affect the performance of the boats?
Well, we've done studies over the years, and depending on the boat length, 1 ton can equal like 1 knot, depending on your boat, your wind speed, and your direction. So it might make a 10-knot boat a 9-knot boat. So it can be worth 10% once you get to 1 ton over 13 tons. So yeah, I mean, it's always an advantage to keep the boat light from a speed standpoint. But we kind of pack the boats with a little extra displacement so that you can carry the extra tools and extra cases of wine and a bicycle and the sandbags and the toys and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So even the 50, which has a lot less displacement than the 55, still seems to be well proportioned because, everybody was able to do a good enough job to keep the boat weight down so that you can carry all the extra stuff. And that's really what the cruisers want. I mean, by the time they actually hit the water and they're in Tahiti, you got spares to go, for every possible reason. And it's easy to sneak a half a ton of things on a boat over a course of a year and not even realize it.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, one thing I might add, we are docked here in Barcelona next to a gunboat 77.
Yeah.
And our freeboard is exactly as high as theirs, except we are level and they are like this in the water. Yeah. And I must admit, a couple of years ago, I liked that. But now, actually, the captain came over and he had a big smile and said, "What a pretty boat."
Gino, what about transoms in the water? We see so many catamarans with their transoms 1 or 2 inches in the water. Is this normal? Should it be acceptable? What are we looking at here?
Well, we know from all the little boat racing, little boat sign, Formula 18s, Formula 40s, America's Cup, basically the transom immersed is really good for power boats, power cats. In fact, we do it intentionally on power cats. But what we find is an immersed transom really becomes a problem as soon as you start pitching in a sea state. In flat water, going 8 knots, yeah, it's probably worth 1/10 of a knot. But once you start going upwind and 14 knots of true wind speed with a couple feet of chop, then the transom's going under 1 foot or 1.5 feet, and the lure transom's really going under. And our feeling is, and we know from experience, that it's adding a lot of extra drag. So our preference is to keep the transoms clear at rest and have them immerse with speed. Because once your boat's going 8 or 10 knots, you can afford the immersed transom. But in 4 knots of wind, an immersed transom is like dragging buckets. So contrary to some other designers and some other, most of the time catamarans were designed with the transoms out. And because of the combination of both being heavier than anyone thought, they sink them at the get-go because the boats are heavy, and then the owners start loading them up and they sink in even more. So it's hard to blame the designer or the boat builder or the owner, because everybody is probably guilty. We try to pack in what we call transom clearance at rest to kind of help buy us enough room to load the boat yet still have the transom clear and light air, because that's really what gives you that 2 knot, 4 knot, 6 knot, 8 knot, extra maneuverability, speed, and fun. That an immersed transom boat, it just makes noise, and if you're making noise, you're losing speed. A quiet boat is a fast boat. And on our big boats, like the 66s and the bigger and bigger boats, we at rest, police station had 18 inches of transom clearance, because you want the leeward hull to be able to sink quite a bit before the transom immerses, because you want the boat to be going fast before the transom immersion. Transom immersion on an IMOCA is different than a transom immersion on a catamaran or a trimaran. Our trimarans, we start off with the main hull with transom immersion, because as soon as you go more than 4 knots, the main hull starts to lift out of the water. But it's a different story with a catamaran. So it's kind of a bit of a important feature depending on the type of boat and the type of sailing. But we like it clear.
I guess the long and short of that is avoid catamarans where they're sitting at the dock with the transoms in the water.
It's definitely going to be giving away some light air performance and medium air performance. It usually indicates the boat's heavier than the designer thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, all right. Well, look, we've got 3 boats here in 3 continents in the world. We got Chris on Harry's beautiful new boat with a lovely real wood teak interior. I'm sitting here in China on which is number 02. It's going to be actually the 4th boat out of the yard, the 4th 50 out of the yard. She's called Avalanche for Captain John Barry III. It's a fantastic looking boat, and I want to show you the outside shortly, because it's got some spectacular graphics on the outside. But this boat has got a walnut interior with real wood trimming, but actually all the panels inside are a real wood lookalike Formica. And then we've got the OC. Erich sitting on OC there in Barcelona. And again, he's got a similar walnut finish interior, but we've actually done a little bit of kind of what I like to say contemporary styling for the European model. It has different trimming on the inside. And I think we should have a quick look while we've got the opportunity at all 3 boats. And show the difference in the wood style. Chris, perhaps you want to lead the way here, mate, and give us a little show of your fiddles around the boat and the real wood paneling in the boat.
Sure, I'm sitting here at the nav station. It's getting a little bit of glare from it, but as you can see, we've got it's very kind of a high gloss finish. Let me just move around here real quick so you can see the tables are such that a very high gloss. Can you guys see that?
I'll let you know, Chris, that's all hand polished.
With your hand?
Not my hand. I got many Chinese helpers here.
No, so here's a little shot on the, it's kind of hard because I'm working off my phone because we just got back from sailing, but the interior of the boat.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, and the owner is over the moon, excited. I mean, Harry had to go pick up his wife right now, Tiffany, at the airport, but he's absolutely over the moon. The performance and the quality of the workmanship, the craftsmanship, the performance was, off the charts. They just couldn't even believe it.
Hey, okay, thanks for that, Chris. Let's shoot over to Barcelona. Yep. See Erich. Erich, would you like to show us the inside of your lovely boat? In particular, are you there, Erich?
Yeah. We had 2 journalists on board, and they were just blown away by the level of detail and the craftsmanship. I personally like sort of this finish a lot here. I must say, I like.
Erich, you've just showed us your drawers in the galley there. This is a new style we've done for the European model. We've changed the drawer style. We've also changed the style of the locker doors on the hanging lockers. Yep. You've got that lovely bit of acrylic on the hanging lockers. You've also got an induction stove in your galley there too.
Right. Yeah. And actually, I'm very pleased with it. The only thing, Paul, is I'm too stupid to unlock it. We didn't need it, but it should be simple. But so far, I haven't been able to unlock it. But let me show you sort of the detail on the drawer. Every drawer just goes in by itself, really quiet. So no push, no noise, no nothing. Even here, on the door down to the side, just need to be patient, and then you lock the whole thing. Also, have you seen how my little office turned out? Absolutely cool.
Look at that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Erich, you'll be pleased to know that O2 here is actually the same wood style as you. We've got Jade, can you see here? We've actually got a walnut finish on the real wood. We've got real walnut on the trims. Here is the TV, which comes up. And then very similar layout to you, Erich, with we've got 2 freezers. Come around a bit more, Jade. And ankle down. And 2 fridges here. This boat has the gas stove, but again, beautifully finished. Let me give an example of the kind of woodwork. I think everyone can appreciate great workmanship.
Yeah, actually, that's the first feedback when people step on the boat. They just are in awe on just the craftsmanship, the detail. It's just unbelievable. You need to buy a super luxury whatever to come close here, but you definitely cannot find it on any other boat in the market.
Hey, Erich, while we're here, can you show us your davits? Are you able to go outside? Is that or is
yeah. Let me.
Okay, I'm just gonna
just let me put the lights on here.
And Chris, perhaps you can do the same, Chris. Let's have a look at the difference between davits on these boats.
So these are our davits here, and they are fit to hold our OC350 with, and it's actually a breeze to launch and to bring up the tender again. No problem at all.
Same thing here, guys. We've got on Harry's boat is we've got his stand-up paddle boards and a windsurfer on top of the davits. But as you can see, it's not super obtrusive or anything like that. And there's it's quite easy to launch, as we mentioned earlier, with Erich as well. So it worked out quite well. But it's a good spot for us in this particular setting to use the davits as a good storage for those stand-up paddle boards.
Yeah, I think, guys.
And I see the side of the mighty Avalanche.
I think the important thing to note with the davits is how high we lift the dinghy out of the water, and the fact you don't have to lash your dinghy in place. It just locks in place against the underside of the davits.
Right.
And look, I just want to quickly show you the outside of this boat. If you stand back, Jade, and there, slowly walk through. The graphics look spectacular. They're all painted on. It's you can use vinyl, of course. In this instance, we've actually carefully masked off for this deep red full glass, so it's going to stay looking shiny and quite spectacular for the next 10 to 20 years. A paint job like this will last. Of course, you can see in the background here, this is number 04. It's going to be called Lickety, I believe, and she's kind of nearing another month and she'll be out of here too. So there we go. I think John Barry is going to be very happy with that.
Well, we're excited to have it hit the shores of the U.S. and get it put together here in a month or so.
Good stuff. Okay. What else do you think's worth touching on? Scott, have you, you're up there in the north of USA, and you've had a lot to do with these boats. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about some resounding features you've noticed.
Well, I think I might want to mention that the Tribute, the boat that's behind me here, has been out with its owners for almost 2 months now, and it's just a couple coming from a 40-foot sailboat and some experience, and she's actually just starting, and they're doing great. They've been going from the mid-coast U.S. all the way up to Newport and beyond, Boston, and they've been driving around like a car. I've been watching them. Their average speeds have been up. He just made a passage from Cuttyhunk, Massachusetts to New York, Long Island, and he was nearly 12 knots average during that one trip. So he's been doing really well. They've been handling the boat by themselves. They've been using all their sail combinations and been having a really good time, and he's going to be heading south and crossing paths with Off Piste that Chris is on soon. So it's a boat that's been able to take a lot of weight. He put literally a 2-car garage on the boat. He's got a dog, loaded stuff, and he's moving around. And like, you know, Gino said, the bow's out of the water, the transom's out of the water, and it's doing well. It's been very impressive for them. So for a couple's boat, I'm really proud of them. They're really doing great.
That's wonderful stuff. I'm not sure how much time we have left, everyone, but I think, you know, this little showing has been to kind of demonstrate in such a short period of time. We've had so many of these brand new 50s come out of the factory, you know, the 4 of them now out there, all commissioned within basically almost less than 3 months, with commissioning crews in 3 different parts of the world. No issues really to speak of, and you know, all the owners absolutely delighted with their boats. This is, you know, just a fantastic new model, and I believe what we've kind of demonstrated is just how strong the HH network is growing and the support we can offer our clients behind their boats.
Absolutely. Paul, I'd like to chime in. I mean, Harry, who I've sailed with now for over the past couple of weeks, is absolutely over the moon. But one of the things he harps on to all the journalists and all the clients, the potential clients that we've had come on the boat, has been the support, the technical support, the the access to myself and Rogan and you, etc. And you know, that's some of the things that we as Hudson Yacht Group and HH Catamarans hang our hat on, is the fact that we're there for you every step of the way. There's another thing we should talk about. Gino's just sailed, been down in Charleston on 6604, the Mighty Nemo, which is a hybrid, for lack of a better term. But I mean, it's a spectacular demonstration of the technology from the design of Gino and the technical abilities of our yard to put a boat together of that quality and technical expertise required to do something like that.
This boat, Nemo, we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot from this boat, I'm guessing, in the next few months, right, Gino?
Yeah, it's you know, it's quite extreme even for our standards. You know, from America's Cup and PlayStation and all that stuff. This boat is definitely going to be fast. The brief period we were able to sail it in Charleston, we know it's gonna fly. It's gonna fly a hole in about 10 knots of true wind speed. It's very, very powered up. It's got extreme dagger boards. It's got T-rudders. It's got more bells and whistles than most our boats gained up over the last couple of years. And we have our fingers crossed and have a lot of hope that this thing's going to be, you know, basically the fastest boat of this class on the East Coast and probably in Europe. It's definitely the fastest one of any of the HHs, and we're certain it's going to be faster than Elvis or Extreme H2O.
Gino, Alexandra just asked, what's Nemo's displacement? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, Nemo, it looks like by the time we got all the north sails on it, boards, rudders, you know, empty, no fuel, no water, it's like 16.5-ish tons.
Wow.
That's a 30-meter rig. That's like 2 meters bigger than Elvis. It's got the biggest sail plan, draws 15 feet. It's a weapon.
It is.
That's what we call kind of crazy, right, Gino? 30-meter plus rig and 16 tons. I mean, you know, R6 was out there 4 or 5 years ago, as we say, kicking ass around the racetracks, and she was displacing the best part of, you know, over 22 tons in race mode, right?
Yeah, 21 tons. Yeah. Now, you're going to have to be very nervous to sail this boat.
You know, one thing we might want to ask, I don't know how many people are watching, etc., but we should, you know, touch on if they've got any questions, etc. We're certainly here. Even if we're not on the Zoom conference call, we're easy to get a hold of, and we like to engage with our potential new clients. We had some really interesting people today on the boat and yesterday on the boat as well, with some good ideas for possible options and things like that. So one of the things I think we should hang our hat on is the fact that we are a semi-custom yard that enjoys doing different challenging things like Nemo, and also the fact that when people come up with different ideas that for their particular boat, that we're willing and able to do it. And we accept the challenge, and we actually like the challenge.
Thanks, Chris.
That's so Paul actually does all this stuff. I just get to put them together and sail them.
No, we got look, I'm really proud of the team we have here in China, actually building the boats. I'm also proud of the network I've got out there supporting us. You know, amazing guys like Scott, who's produced some of the best technical videos on these HH Catamarans that you could possibly want to see, explaining in micro detail how these boats are put together and how they function. We've got Gino in California, who's, you know, one of the world's greatest catamaran designers. I got Chris there in Annapolis, and you know, selling me any, what do you say, challenges? We accept challenges. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, we can do that. And now I've got Cyrille over in Europe, in Barcelona with Erich Cyrile's got a really cool network of agents from the north of Europe, up in Germany and the Baltic, through to Italy. Yeah, and it's really cool. I think we're going to be one of the fastest growing brands of super high quality yachts that the world's kind of seen. That's what I'm hoping.
Sure looks that way. We've got excellent guys like Rogan as well. Rogan, for example, who heads up our commissioning team / warranty team. I mean, the clients are over the top with Rogan. He's technically excellent at pretty much everything, and the owners and families love the guy. And from a sailing standpoint, he's also extremely proficient. So we've got quite a team put together right now, and I'll tell you, it's fun to be part of it.
That's cool, Chris. You're absolutely right. Rogan is you're world class, mate. You really are. Thank you for everything you do over there.
It's a whole lot of fun. Thanks for building the boats.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot. Lauren, thank you for putting this all together. I see you got Chris with you there in the background. Chris is another great part of HH. He's helped us out on a lot of boats. He's an awesome captain, awesome rigger, boat builder, just general everything on a boat. Well done, mate, and thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, shall I close this down? Cyrille, Erich, Scott, Gino, Chris, Lauren, thank you all. Thank you to the world who's been watching, and yeah, adios.
Take care, everybody.